The Chinese President Xi Jinping will visit Russia next week to hold talks with President Putin.
तो चीन के राष्ट्रपति शी जिनपिंग पुतिन और ज़ेलेंस्की में सुलह करवाकर एक मिसाल कायम करना चाहते हैं.
Who the good guys and bad guys are between those two nations.
I think he is a war criminal.
On 20th March 2023, Xi Jinping, just days after securing an unprecedented third term as China's leader, landed in Moscow. And this was nothing but a critical moment to reaffirm his ties with Vladimir Putin. So what does this rising bonhomie between Beijing and Moscow signify amid the Ukraine war? We'll tell you all about it, but before that, don't forget to like and share this video and subscribe to the Moneycontrol's YouTube channel. Xi Jinping secured a historic third term to become China's president in early March 2023, making him the most powerful leader of the country since Mao. Xi's visit to Russia broadly signified the following three things for the world. Number 1. Russia and China stand against the United States.
We made clear, and I made clear in my personal conversations, which have been many, with President Xi, that we seek competition, not conflict. But I will make no apologies that we're investing to make America stronger. Investing in American innovation and industries that will define the future that China intends to be dominating.
According to this Pew Research Center article from 2022, China's partnership with Russia was seen as a serious problem for the US. Why? Well, China is one of the leading economies of the world and a growing superpower, something that the US has always been wary of. Since the beginning of the Ukraine war in February 2022, the US has been extremely critical of Putin and Moscow's alleged war crimes.
I think he is a war criminal.
And by February 2023, the tensions were running high between Beijing and Washington over the spy balloons that the US alleged were sent by China.
I'm committed to work with China where we can advance American interests and benefit the world, but make no mistake about it. As we made clear last week, if China threatens our sovereignty, we will act to protect our country, and we do.
So China and Russia's relationship goes back a long time, especially because of the common left ideologies and their anti-American sentiment, which has made them even closer than ever today. Number 2. Xi's ability to influence decisions in the Ukraine war. Unlike the West, China has not condemned the war. In February 2022, China published a 12-point paper calling for dialogue and a settlement in Ukraine, but it contained only general statements and no concrete proposal for how the year-long war might end. Going back to the Pew Research, China's rising power and influence was also seen as a threat to the United States. While Putin has welcomed Xi's efforts to mediate in the conflict, Xi realizes how much is at stake during his visit to Moscow.
We have carefully studied your proposals on settling the acute crisis in Ukraine. Of course, we'll have an opportunity to discuss these issues.
Experts do believe that Xi can influence Putin's decision by preventing him from deploying nuclear weapons on the battlefield in Ukraine. After his 3-day visit to Moscow, Xi is expected to meet Ukraine President Vladimir Zelensky too, which is believed to balance out the negative impact his visit might have after visiting Russia.
We hope that President Xi will press President Putin to cease bombing Ukrainian cities, hospitals, and schools, to halt the war crimes and atrocities, and to withdraw all its troops. But we are concerned that, instead, China will reiterate calls for a ceasefire that leaves Russian forces inside Ukraine's sovereign territory.
Number 3. Beijing standing shoulder to shoulder with Moscow. Xi's visit to Russia just 2 days after the International Criminal Court issued an arrest warrant against Putin was seen as a solid show of solidarity. And 1 day before his visit, the Russian president called Xi a good friend. So all this really indicated China's growing closeness to Russia amid a war and impending economic crisis. But where will this be headed and what repercussions will it have on the world? It is yet to be seen.
I was very glad to receive your proposal for a state visit once again, let alone after my re-election as chairman of China's Communist Party.